Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another horror movie review. Very rarely on my channel do I actually review any films of sort of blockbuster or big sort of major films. But now and again, some films are so special that I would like to review them on my channel. And tonight is one of those nights. I'm going to be looking at a film that it's a horror film. Yeah, it's an amazing story, and it grabs your heart, it grabs your soul, and it doesn't let go till the end. So I can only be talking about Stephen King's The Green Mile, starring Tom Hanks. Now, I'm reviewing this film because I've picked up the 4K version. So this is a review of the 4K version of the film. It's a masterpiece. It really is. And I normally don't tell you how I feel about a film until after I've sort of reviewed it. But it's an absolute masterpiece of cinema sort of history, in my humble opinion. Very few, I'm not a big fan of big blockbuster films. Now, I do like blockbuster films from like the 70s and some of the 80s. Some of the 70s films like that I love, like Taxi Driver, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and things like that, are absolutely incredible movies. And I want to spend a week looking at those things. But this one is a horror film. It's a horror film with a difference, because it's horror in the sense of not scary horror, but horror in the way human beings' behaviour, I think, is what it's about. And not the prison guards, well, except for one. It's the horror of the whole idea of execution, if you like, because this film is based on death row. It's based in 1935, I believe, and Tom Hanks plays the prison guard. The film starts off as him as an old man, and he's in a sort of like up to date, and he's in a nursing home, a residential nursing home, and he sort of like breaks down one evening when he's watching a TV program and Fred Astaire comes on singing one of his classic songs, I'm in Heaven, I think it's called, or was it Cheek to Cheek, something like that. But anyway, and he's watching Fred Astaire and he breaks down, and then he goes to the conservatory with his sort of female friend, just a friend who lives in a nursing home, and he tells him the life story, well, this year of his life, 1935, when he was the prison guard for death row, and he's the one in charge of all the executions. And he tells the story of a prisoner called John Coffey, like the drink, but spelt differently. And he is a rather giant, gentle sort of giant, sort of black man from the 1930s. Now, this was, again, from the era in American history where black people were sort of, I think slavery was not as prevalent as it was then, but it was still around, and I think there was still a major sort of race issue going on in America. I can't tell you because I don't know American history, but John Coffey arrives at this prison, and the guy that's bringing him in, the prison guard, he is the prison guard that no one likes, okay? And he's walking him towards the Green Mile. They call it the Green Mile because that's the name of the sort of like part of the prison where the death row patients, prisoners, stay. And he's walking him down here, and he keeps shouting out, dead man walking here," and all this. And then Tom Hanks has a go at him, tell him to shut up. And all the prison guards that work in this Green Mile are all absolutely shocked by the sheer size of John Coffey. But he has a conversation with Tom Hanks, John Coffey, and he's asking him, do you leave the lights on at night and stuff like that, because he's afraid of the dark. So we straight away get that impression something's not right here, because he's huge, but he seems so giant. I mean, giant, he seems so gentle. And he has a sort of soul. Straight away, you pick up on it. You just think, no, something's not right here. But anyway, they help settle him into the prison. And Tom Hanks' attitude is that he respects these prisoners because it's their last part of their life is spent there. So he tries to give them the respect sort of thing of a human being. Because yes, most of them are criminals, but he tries to give them respect for human beings, which it's a great thing to do, you know. Because although these people are criminals, they're paying their due. They're giving their life here. Anyway, they start talking about John Coffey and stuff like this, and Tom Hanks starts to read through the report while he's there. And we cut to the clip where they're supposed to be the crime. Now, we're at this house and we hear a woman scream, and the husband comes running to the house and says that the two girls, the two twin sisters or whatever, have gone, disappeared, and they see blood. So then there's a big manhunt going on with all the sort of like local people and dogs and stuff. They're all going through these long meadow grass and sort of like marsh areas looking for these girls. And then they hear like some screaming coming from this big sort of log. And there we see John Coffey sitting there on the ground with the two girls either side of him, dead, with all sort of blood in their hair and stuff like that. So they all go running over to him, and the father starts laying into him and sort of like you know, punching him and stuff. They pull him off them, and John Coffey says, I tried, but I just couldn't. I was too late. Couldn't help them. Anyway, the policeman there sort of says, right, you're under arrest. And so he's been charged for the murder of these two girls. And then he's taken to, like, the Green Mile. But has he killed those two girls? Because when soon as you meet him, you think, that's not his character to do that. But anyway, so he's in there. And then the film sort of progresses through, and we see all the different sort of characters that are in death row, a couple of other prisoners that are in death row. And you do see some executions in the film. Obviously not real, but you do see, because it's like their time comes up and they've got to go to be executed. So we do see that. And we see that horrible prison guard come back, and all he wants to do is do an execution, and he'll move on. So they let him do one later in the film, and he doesn't wet the sponge, because when it's done an electric chair, they get a wet sponge and they put it on their head, and they put the metal grips on the head, and that wet sponge acts as the sort of conductor that sort of makes the electricity pass through the body, but he leaves that dry, so that it makes that body burn. It's horrendous to watch. This film is an 18 because it is quite graphic in places when it comes to the executions, but tastefully done. It's not like horrible as such, apart from that one. But he's a horrible human being, and he's really mean to all of the prisoners, and none of the guards like him. And John Coffey, the prisoner, he's a gentle soul, and he sort of picks up on people's ways and wrongdoings, and he's got like a special ability of curing people of inflictions or illnesses and stuff like that. I'll give you an example. Tom Hanks is suffering from a very bad urine infection, and he grabs Tom Hanks in the film and sort of grabs his area, and he takes away through his own body the infection that Tom Hanks has got, and then he sort of looks up and sort of spits out all this sort of like almost like dust comes out of his mouth, which is like the illness, and Tom Hanks is cured. He's got this special ability, so he's some sort of angel almost. So when he was with those girls and he was saying couldn't help because he was too late, did he kill them or was he actually trying to help them? You need to watch it and find out, because I'm not going to tell you any more of the synopsis. Because the story it's a long story. The film lasts over 3 hours, be warned, but it doesn't seem like it. It grips you. You just want to watch it, and it's wonderful. It's heartbreaking. It's a tearjerker, and it's also an amazing story. And I said the horror from the film comes from how human beings can be like this, execute other human beings, and like I said, that horrible guard that makes this other prisoner die a painful, brutal death, and it's like, and that prisoner is another nice sort of guy who's just done something wrong in his life, and he's paying the price, and he knows he's going to pay the price, and he's accepted that, so he doesn't need to suffer that brutality, and that's what it sort of demonstrates. That's where the horror is in this film. But it's also got that sort of magical part about the film where, say, John Coffey has this sort of ability that they all find out and discover he's got, and then they all start respecting John Coffey or the prison guards, and they want to, they don't want anything bad to happen to him, except this one horrible guard. So you need to see what happens. Right, so the pluses of this edition, the picture quality in 4K it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning, and I like that they've kept the oranges quite orange, because I always feel when you do 1930s and 1940s, there should be that sort of bit of orange, bits of browns in that colour, because browns and orange were really popular in that sort of period. And so I'm glad that they sort of kept that, and it looks absolutely amazing. It's one of the best transfers I've ever seen. The story is incredible. It's one of Stephen King's best stories by none. Absolutely amazing. The cast is absolutely stellar. It's full of well-known actors that come and go throughout the story. There's absolutely the acting is A-class. It's just the best acted, sort of one of the best acted horror films out there. Absolutely awesome. There is some sort of gore in there. It's more violence than gore. It's watchable for most people. It is a real story that grabs you. It's a real heartbreaking, tear-jerking story, and you really feel for John Coffey, and you just want him to not be executed. So it's one of those sort of stories, and the guards also feel that they don't want him to be executed. So it's one of those sort of stories that grabs your soul and your heart. Negatives, none. I suppose 3 hours for some people could be perceived as being a long film, but believe me, you need it. You need the 3 hours in this to tell the whole story, and you'll come out exhausted thinking, my God, that's a real trip of the soul and of the heart. So that's why it needs it, and it's amazing. So I'm going to score the film an absolute essential watch, and again give it 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 film all the way. Absolutely amazing film. I cannot speak highly enough of it, and I'm not even a Stephen King fan. Well, when I say that, I don't like his books. I love the adaptations of his stories into movies. I think his stories work really well as movies, but as a book, I don't like them. I just cannot get on with them. I don't like his style of writing. But as film adaptations, fantastic, and this is probably one of the best. absolutely amazing. Green Mile, 10 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you think of it. Yeah, it's very, very strange and rare of me to review a non-low budget kind of film on this channel. I tend to always go for the low budget films rather than the big budget, but now and again it's good to sort of shout out some really big budget films that most people have seen and like, just to show that I also appreciate it as well, especially when it's done well like this, when it's really amazing photography, it's amazing script writing and amazing acting and a great story. It needs to be reviewed sometimes. You know, I don't do it too often, but I want to do a couple of weeks on my channel, some classic sort of movies like Taxi Driver and stuff like that. And I also want to do a week of true story movies, of classics. So I might even have a look at that as well. So hopefully they'll come up in the next few weeks. Anyway, till my next video, please check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Designs, Pizzawell, I'm Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House, and a massive shout out to my lad, Lemon Lord. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.